The desert colony of HFY was a place where hope died faster than plants. 2 suns burned the land every day, boiling the sand, cracking the roads, and drying everything that stood under the sky. People moved slowly, like shadows searching for shade. Water was the most precious thing in this dying world, more precious than gold, more precious than life, and that was exactly why the crowd gathered today. A punishment was about to begin. In the center of the colony square, guards dragged a small alien girl through the dust. She was thin, weak, and shaking badly. Her clothes were torn, her skin covered in dried mud, and her tiny hands clutched the empty metal cup she had stolen water with. The girl's name was Rin, and everyone in the colony knew her as the little thief. But nobody knew the truth. She had not eaten properly for days. She had not had a drop of water for almost 3 days. Her throat burned, her stomach twisted, and her small body felt like it was collapsing from inside. She had tried to ignore the pain, but her body had given up. That morning, she saw a storage valve dripping water, just a slow leak. But to her, even a single drop felt like a miracle. She had caught that drop in a cup. She had taken 2 small sips. She didn't even finish it. But the guards saw her, and now she was being dragged for punishment. The people watching whispered quietly. Some looked sad, others looked angry, but most were simply numb. This was normal for them. The colony had a cruel rule. Steal water, lose your arm. It didn't matter if you were a child. It didn't matter if you were starving. The law ruled everything. Rin tried to stand on her own feet, but her legs were too weak. She kept stumbling. The guards shouted at her, but she didn't respond. She was too tired, too thirsty, too scared. When they reached the metal punishment block, the captain stepped forward. Captain Vertol, muscular, with silver armor and a face like carved stone. He was known for following laws exactly, without mercy. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. Rin of the slum district, he announced, you are guilty of stealing water from the public reservoir. According to the law of HFY, your left arm will be removed. Rin's eyes widened with terror. No, please, she whispered. Lie, I only took a sip. Only 2 sips. The captain ignored her. Place her arm. The guards forced Rin toward the metal block. Her tiny feet dragged through the dust. The blade, a glowing plasma cutter, was powered on. A long humming sound filled the air. Some people turned their faces away. Some watched with cold eyes. A few children cried quietly in their mother's arms. Rin trembled violently. She knew what happened to anyone who lost a limb in this colony. They didn't live long. They couldn't work. They couldn't fight. They couldn't survive. She closed her eyes. She took a shaking breath. She waited for pain, but before the blade touched her skin, a loud, angry voice cut through the square. Stop! Every head turned. A human walked in through the crowd. His boots hit the ground with steady steps. Dust swirled around him. His name was Ethan Ward, a field engineer assigned to the colony. He wore a desert jacket, a utility belt full of tools, and a mechanical gauntlet on one arm. His face looked calm, but his eyes showed fire. Ethan glared at the guards. Put the blade down, he said. Captain Vare frowned. Human, this is alien law. This is not your concern. Ethan stepped closer, refusing to stop. She's a child, he said. You're going to cut off her arm for what? 2 sips of leaking water? It was theft, the captain replied coldly. And the law is clear. Ethan looked around at the crowd. Look at her, he shouted. She's starving. She's dehydrated. She can barely stand. She doesn't need punishment. She needs help, but nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The captain raised his hand. Remove her arm. The guards grabbed Rin again. The blade rose once more. And then Ethan stepped directly in front of the block. Gasps erupted from the crowd. No human had ever challenged the colony law. No one dared stand between the blade and a criminal. The captain's eyes darkened. Move, human. No. The word landed like a knife. Ethan didn't shake. He didn't step back. He covered Rin with his body, shielding her from the blade. She looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. No one had ever stood for her. No one had ever tried to protect her. You break our law, Ver growled. You break basic morality, Ethan answered calmly. Weapons clicked. Several guards pointed plasma rifles at Ethan. The crowd backed away in fear. But Ethan remained still. I won't let you hurt her, he said firmly. If she stole water, she did it to survive. This punishment is wrong. Rin gripped the back of Ethan's jacket with trembling fingers. She didn't understand why he was helping her. She had never been helped before. The captain's voice rose. You dare stand against the law of HFY? Ethan's answer was soft, but it cut deeper than any blade. I stand for what's right. Silence fell over the entire colony. Dust drifted through the air. The suns burned above them, and at that moment, everyone knew one thing. This was no longer just a punishment. This was the beginning of a war, a human against a cruel system, and a little alien girl who finally found someone willing to fight for her. The square stayed silent. Long after Ethan stepped in front of Rin, no one had ever challenged Captain Ver before. No human, no alien, no council member. But Ethan stood there like a wall, unmoving, refusing to let anyone harm the tiny girl hiding behind his legs. Captain Ver's jaw tightened as he looked at Ethan with cold anger. Human, you are interfering with official punishment. Ethan didn't blink. I am preventing cruelty. The guards shifted nervously. Some raised their rifles a little higher. The crowd whispered, scared, shocked, curious, but the person shaking the most was Rin. Her legs felt weak, her head dizzy. She had never seen anyone oppose the captain. She had never seen anyone stand up for her. Her voice trembled when she whispered behind Ethan, Why are you helping me? Ethan didn't turn around, but his tone softened slightly. Because someone has to. Captain Ver raised his hand, signaling his guards. Seize him. The guards hesitated. A human engineer was not a fighter, but hurting him could start trouble with the human command post. Still, orders were orders. 3 guards stepped forward. Ethan calmly lifted his mechanical gauntlet. Light flickered along its metal plates. He spoke with a warning in his voice. Don't. The guards froze again. Everyone knew the gauntlet wasn't a weapon, but they didn't know what modifications Ethan had made to it. Humans were unpredictable, especially human engineers. Captain Ver exhaled slowly, then lowered his hand. Fine, we will not seize you here, not in front of the crowd. Rin felt a moment of relief too soon. The captain pointed at her instead. But the girl will still face judgment. Take her to the holding cell. Before Ethan could react, 2 guards grabbed Rin. She struggled weakly, coughing from dehydration, but she didn't have the strength to fight. Still, her eyes searched for Ethan, hoping he could save her again. I'm coming, Ethan said. Firmly, stepping after the guards, Captain Ver blocked his way. No human. The council will decide her fate. You are not allowed inside. She's a child, Ethan snapped. She is a thief, Var corrected coldly. Ethan clenched his fists. So what? You will cut off her arm and expect her to survive in this heat. This is murder. It is law, Ver repeated. But for the first time, something cracked in the captain's eyes. Not guilt, but fear. A small, hidden fear. Ethan noticed it immediately. You're afraid, he said quietly. Ver glared. I fear nothing. Ethan leaned in closer. You fear the truth. You fear someone will find out what's really happening with the colony's water. The captain's expression changed just for a second. But it was enough. Ethan now knew something was very wrong in this place. The guards dragged Rin away, toward the old storage building now used as a holding cell. She stumbled several times, her feet barely lifting off the ground. Each time, the guards yanked her forward without mercy. Ethan's voice rose angrily. "Be careful with her." They ignored him. Inside the holding cell, the air was even hotter. The walls were metal, trapping the heat like an oven. Rin collapsed on the floor, hugging her knees, her breath shaking. A guard locked the gate with a loud metallic sound. The captain turned to Ethan one last time. "You cannot protect her forever, human. The council will meet at sunset. After that, the punishment will continue." Ethan watched them leave, his jaw tightening. Then he turned his eyes toward the holding cell. Rin sat in the corner, shivering from fear, even though the air was burning hot. When she saw Ethan walk closer, she wiped her tears with trembling fingers. I didn't mean to steal," she whispered. "I know," Ethan replied softly. She looked down, her voice tiny. "I saw kids fighting over a cup of water yesterday. One fainted. I thought, if I could take a little, I could give them something." Ethan stared at her, stunned. She hadn't stolen for herself. She had stolen to help others. He knelt down in front of the bars. "Rin, why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because no one listens to someone like me," she said. "I am nothing. I am alone." Her words hit Ethan harder than any punch. In her trembling eyes, he saw the truth. This colony wasn't just starving for water. It was starving for compassion. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Listen to me," he said. "I'm not going to let them hurt you. I promise." Rin shook her head. "They always hurt people like me. You can't fight them." Ethan glanced toward the main reservoir tanks in the distance. He remembered seeing strange markings near the pipes, unusual readings in water levels, nighttime. Noises near the storage units. Something didn't add up. "You're right," he said softly. "I can't fight them, not yet." Rin looked confused. "But I can find the truth. And when I do, nobody will dare touch you." Rin lowered her head, tears falling silently. "Nobody ever protected me before." Ethan stood up, determination burning in his eyes. "Then today is the first time." Without wasting another second, Ethan walked away toward the reservoir towers, toward the truth, and toward the corruption that would soon shake the entire colony. The sun was sinking behind the orange desert sky when Ethan reached the reservoir towers. The metal structures rose tall above the colony, shining faintly under the fading light. Normally, guards were posted at every corner. But today, the area felt strangely empty. Too empty. Ethan slowed his steps. His instincts sharpened. Something wasn't right. He approached the main valve control panel, the same place where Rin had found the dripping water. As he opened the maintenance hatch, a small puff of heated air escaped. Dust, heat, and faint traces of burned wiring greeted him. He frowned. Someone opened this recently. He scanned the pipes. At first, everything seemed normal. But then Ethan noticed thin scratch marks near the main pipe, marks that didn't match tools humans used. They looked like claws. Alien claws. Ethan crouched closer, touching the dry sand beneath the pipe, and found small footprints, Rin's size. But next to them, much bigger ones, a heavy step pattern. Military boots. Ethan's eyes narrowed. So she wasn't alone. This wasn't normal theft. The leak Rin drank from wasn't random. Someone had tampered with the pipe earlier, and she had just been unfortunate enough to be near it. Ethan stood up and wiped the sweat off his forehead. There was corruption here. And it wasn't small. Before he could examine further, he heard footsteps behind him. A soft, weak voice called out, Ethan." He turned sharply. Rin stood near the tower, holding onto a metal railing for support. Sweat dripped from her forehead. She looked exhausted, but her eyes carried determination. "What are you doing here?" Ethan hurried to her. "You're not supposed to be out of the holding cell. I escaped. I didn't want you to get in trouble because of me." Ethan gently steadied her. "You should be resting." Rin shook her head slowly. "I wanted to explain why I took the water." "You don't need to explain," Ethan said softly. But Rin insisted. She lowered her eyes. "My parents, they used to say that water is life. Not for drinking only, but for sharing. They died during the great heat storm. Before they died, they saved some water for me. They said, if you can help someone thirsty, do it. So I tried." Ethan felt his chest tighten. Her voice was fragile, like she was telling a story she had kept locked deep inside. "Yesterday," she continued, "I saw 2 kids fighting. One fainted from dehydration. I tried to give them even 1 sip, but I had none. So today when I saw the leak, I thought I could bring them a little, but I got caught." Rin's chin trembled, "That's all. I wasn't stealing too. Live, I was stealing so someone else could." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, letting her words settle. This girl wasn't a thief. She was a hero in a world that didn't value kindness anymore. He put his hand gently on her shoulder. "You didn't do anything wrong, Rin. The wrong is happening around you, not inside you." Rin looked up at him with wide, uncertain eyes. "Do you really believe that?" "Yes," Ethan said without hesitation. "I believe you, and I'm going to prove your innocence." Rin held onto his sleeve tightly. "But the council, they will never believe me. They'll believe the truth," Ethan said, "once we find it." Suddenly, a metallic clicking sound echoed from behind the reservoir. Ethan instantly pulled Rin behind him. 2 shadows stepped out, 2 alien guards, armed with rifles. But these weren't regular patrol guards. Their armor had black markings, the secret enforcement squad used for silent duties. One of them smirked. "You shouldn't be here, human." Ethan exhaled slowly. "And what silent duty brings you to the reservoir at sunset?" The guard aimed his rifle slightly upward. "Fixing leaks." Rin flinched. Ethan felt her fear, even without turning. The second guard lifted a small, metallic device, a water siphon used to illegally drain water into private containers. Ethan's heart pounded. He had found the real thieves, but before he could react, the first guard stepped forward. "You know too much, human." Ethan raised his gauntlet, ready for a fight, but Rin grabbed his arm. "Don't fight. They'll hurt you," she whispered. Ethan whispered back, "Not if I keep them talking." He spoke loudly. "You're stealing water and blaming children. Why?" The guard grinned. "Orders." Ethan's voice hardened. "Whose?" The guard's grin vanished instantly. "We don't answer humans." He fired a warning shot near Ethan's feet. The sand exploded. Rin screamed and hid behind Ethan, her small hands gripping him tightly. The second guard turned away. "Let's leave. The captain won't like us being seen." "Captain." Again. Ethan locked that information in his mind. The guards disappeared into the twilight, leaving behind the truth. Rin had been punished for a crime she didn't commit. Ethan looked down at Rin. "We need evidence," he said quietly. Rin nodded weakly. "We'll find it," she whispered. They both turned toward the reservoir, the faint glow of sunset painting their shadows long across the sand. The conspiracy was bigger than they imagined, and Rin's life was no longer the only one at risk. Now Ethan's life was in danger. Night fell over HFY like a heavy blanket. The desert winds grew cold, carrying sand across the empty streets. Most colonists stayed inside their metal homes, hiding from the night raiders who sometimes appeared without warning. But tonight's silence felt unnatural. Too quiet, too still, too dangerous. Ethan and Rin walked back toward the colony square, staying close to the shadows. After what they saw near the reservoir, both of them knew more trouble was coming. Rin clung to his sleeve, whispering softly, "Ethan, those guards, They were not normal. They looked like they wanted to hurt you. They wanted to hide the truth, Ethan said, and that scares them more than I do. Rin looked down at the sand. I don't want you to get hurt. This is happening because of me. Ethan stopped and turned to her. No, Rin, this is happening because the colony is broken. You were just the one they chose to blame. Her eyes shimmered under the faint moonlight. For the first time in years, she didn't feel invisible, but their moment was shattered. A deep alarm suddenly roared across the colony, 3 heavy blasts echoing in the sky. Boom, boom. Rin froze. That's the raider. Alarm. Ethan's body tensed. How often do raiders come? Not often, Rin whispered. But when they do, they burn everything. Screams began rising from every direction. Doors slammed. Children cried. Lights flickered in panic. And then, distant rumbling. Metal wheels rolling fast. Engines growling like beasts. The raiders were coming. Ethan grabbed Rin's hand. Come on, we need cover. They ran toward an old abandoned workshop near the edge of the colony. But before they reached the door, a bright flash lit up the sky. A giant raider truck crashed through the outer gate. Metal shattered. Guards flew back. Flames burst upward. Rin gasped. They're already inside. More vehicles thundered behind. The first, armored, covered with spikes, carrying alien raiders with glowing red helmets and rusted weapons. The raiders shot wild plasma bolts into the air, laughing like animals. They fired at anything that moved. A bolt exploded near Ethan and Rin, sending both of them diving behind a pile of containers. Sand flew everywhere. Rin coughed, shaking, her hands covering her ears. Ethan looked over the container's edge. The colony square was turning into chaos, smoke, fire. Guards fighting desperately, but something was off. The raiders were not attacking the houses. Not attacking the storage areas. Not attacking the council hall. They were heading straight toward the reservoir, Ethan whispered. Rin's eyes widened. They want water. And someone told them the perfect time to attack. Ethan had no doubt now. The corrupt guards and Captain Vare were involved. He turned to Rin. You need to hide, now. Rin shook her head violently. No, I won't leave you. They'll kill you. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. I need to stop them. If the raiders drain the reservoir, the entire colony will die. You included. Rin trembled, tears forming. I don't want to lose you too. Ethan softened. You won't. He handed her a small emergency beacon from his belt. If you're in danger, press this. I'll find you. Rin held it tightly, as if her life depended on it. But before Ethan could move toward the reservoir, a shadow jumped in front of them. A raider, tall, armored, holding a jagged plasma spear. Found you. He growled. Ethan pushed Rin behind him, raising his metal gauntlet. The raider lunged, swinging the spear at Ethan's chest. Ethan blocked it with his gauntlet. Sparks exploded. He staggered back but didn't fall. The raider struck again, this time aiming for Rin. Ethan grabbed the spear shaft, twisted it hard, and delivered a heavy punch directly to the raider's helmet. The raider stumbled, but he wasn't down. He roared, lifting the spear to strike again, and suddenly a small stone hit his face. The raider turned. Rin stood there, trembling, terrified, but trying to help. Leave him alone, she yelled. The raider growled and charged toward her. Rin froze. Ethan didn't think. He slammed his gauntlet into the raider's knee, making the giant fall. Then he grabbed Rin and pulled her away just as the raider swung wildly in rage. We have to go, Ethan shouted. They ran toward the old workshop, heartbeats pounding like drums. Inside the workshop, Ethan barred the door with a metal pipe. Rin was shaking hard, from fear, from adrenaline, from everything happening too fast. She looked up at him, voice choking. I tried to help, but I almost got you killed. Ethan knelt down, placed his hands on her shoulders. "Rin," he said softly, "you were brave. You didn't freeze this time. You acted. That means something." Rin's tears flowed silently. "Nobody ever said that to me." Ethan wiped a tear from her cheek. "You matter. Never forget that." Outside, explosions shook the ground again. The raiders were closing in on the reservoir. If they reached it, the colony would fall. Ethan stood up, determination turning his eyes sharp. "I'm going to the reservoir," he said. "I'll stop them, and I'll expose whoever helped them." Rin grabbed his hand. "No. Don't leave me." Ethan squeezed her fingers gently. "I'll come back for you. I promise." Rin looked at him with fear and hope mixed together. "Promise, promise." He stepped away and opened the back exit. The night outside burned red with fire. The raiders were advancing. The colony was falling, and Ethan was walking straight into the heart of danger, alone. But this time, he wasn't fighting just for a colony. He was fighting for Rin. The night raid lasted only 20 minutes. But it felt like a lifetime. By the time the raiders retreated into the desert, smoke covered the colony like a black cloud. Houses burned. The air was thick with dust, and injured colonists limped through the wreckage. Ethan returned to the square, with bruises, burns on his jacket, and blood on his knuckles, but he was alive. He had saved the eastern gate, repaired a damaged defense turret, and stalled the raiders long enough for the colony to push them back. But his victory felt empty, because Rin was nowhere to be seen. He rushed back to the old workshop, heart pounding. The door was cracked open. Inside, he found the emergency beacon, pressed. Rin had used it, but she wasn't there. Ethan's throat tightened. "Rin, where did they take you?" Before he could take another breath, loud footsteps approached. Several guards surrounded him, rifles pointed straight at his chest. "Human Ethan Ward," one of them barked. "The council demands your presence, now." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "I need to find the girl. Let me through." "The council will decide her fate," the guard snapped. "Tonight." A cold chill ran through Ethan. Tonight, the judgment. The punishment. He had no choice. He followed the guards to the council chamber, a circular hall with tall metal columns, glowing runes, and a raised platform where the 5 council elders sat. The crowd gathered in the hall gasped when Ethan entered. He looked like a soldier returning from war. Not an engineer. Captain Vare stood on the opposite side, armor polished, expression perfectly calm. Too calm. At the center of the hall, sitting on the floor with her hands tied, was Rin. Her eyes were red from crying. Her knees were scraped. She looked terrified. Ethan's fists clenched. A council elder raised his hand. "Begin the judgment." Captain Vare stepped forward. "Honored council, the human interfered with lawful punishment. The girl committed theft. And now, because of their actions, the raiders attacked us tonight. This is no coincidence." The crowd murmured angrily. Some nodded. Some disagreed. Ethan stepped forward, voice sharp. "That's a lie and you know it." Vare sneered. "Prove it." Ethan pointed directly at him. "You sold water to the raiders. Your men tampered with the reservoir pipes. You framed a child to hide your crimes." A collective gasp echoed through the hall. The elder looked shocked. "These are serious accusations." "They're true," Ethan said, "and I can prove it." Vare laughed, a cold, mocking sound. "You? A human engineer? You have no authority here." Ethan stepped closer. "But I have evidence." He took out a small data chip he recovered earlier from the reservoir area, a chip containing guard patrol logs, water siphon readings, and nighttime delivery signatures. The elder took it, inserted it into the hologram projector. Blue light filled the hall. Logs appeared. Unauthorized water extraction. Captain Vare, unauthorized guard movements. secret payments to masked IDs leak creation timings. The entire hall gasped again. Ver's eye twitched, only for a moment. He slammed his fist on the railing. Forged! He shouted. The human forged the data. Ethan stepped even closer. If you call it forged, then allow one thing. Let me challenge you in the old tradition. A heavy silence fell. Everyone knew the tradition. Trial combat. If one side accused another of betrayal, they could demand a public duel. Winner proved truth. The elder looked nervous. This is extreme. And necessary, Ethan replied. Because this child's life depends on it. And so does the truth. The crowd looked at Ver. He remained frozen. Then slowly smirked. Fine, he said. I accept. Rin's eyes widened in terror. No, Ethan, no. He will kill you. Ethan looked at her, not with fear, but with calm determination. I won't let them hurt you. Not now, not ever. Rin shook her head violently, tears falling. You saved me once. I don't want to lose you. Ethan smiled softly. You won't. Ver slammed his spear on the ground. The duel will be at dawn, in the arena. Ethan nodded. The elders whispered among themselves. Then the leader announced, until dawn, the girl will remain imprisoned. If the human wins, she will be freed. If he loses, both will face punishment. Rin collapsed in fear. 2 guards grabbed Ethan to escort him outside as he passed Rin. She reached out with tied hands, voice breaking. Please, don't fight him. He's strong. He's fast. He's cruel. You'll die. Ethan leaned close and whispered, I've faced worse than him. And I have something he will never have. Rin looked up trembling. What? Someone worth fighting for. Her eyes filled with silent tears as Ethan was taken away. The hall lights dimmed. The crowd murmured. The elders stood in worry. And Rin, small, fragile, alone, whispered. The only prayer she knew. Please let him live. Dawn was only hours away. A duel was coming. A truth would soon be revealed, and the fate of both Ethan and Rin rested on one final battle. Dawn arrived quietly over HFY. But there was nothing peaceful about it. The sky glowed a soft orange, dust drifting like smoke, and the colony arena filled with people long before sunrise. Everyone had come to see something forbidden, something rare. A human challenging an alien captain in trial combat. The arena was a wide circle carved from stone and metal. Scorch marks covered the floor from past battles. Above, the council sat on a raised platform. And at the center, Captain Var stood with his glowing spear, armor shining under the new light. He looked confident, relaxed, almost bored. As if he already knew how this battle would end. 2 guards escorted Ethan into the arena. His jacket was torn, his gauntlet was dented. He had bruises all over his arms from the raider fight. And yet his eyes were sharp, determined, unbroken. The crowd murmured as the human stepped forward, from behind the bars of a holding cage. Rin watched with trembling hands tied. Her heart thumped painfully against her ribs. She whispered softly, voice cracking, Please, please don't let him die. The council elder raised his hand. Trial combat begins at first light. Death is permitted. Truth is determined by victory. The gong rang. Clang. Captain Ver attacked immediately. No warning. No hesitation. He swung his plasma spear in a wide arc. Ethan barely jumped back as blue light sliced through the air. The ground cracked where the spear hit. Rin flinched, eyes wide in terror. Ethan rolled to the side, raising his gauntlet just in time to deflect another strike. Sparks flew, sand exploded. The impact nearly broke Ethan's arm. Achar smirked. This is the strength of a soldier, and you're an engineer. Ethan wiped blood from his lip. Engineers fix things. And right now, I'm fixing your lies. Ver growled and lunged forward with terrifying speed. Ethan dodged left, ducked under a swing, but the captain was relentless. Every attack was heavy, deadly, and meant to break him. Another strike connected, this time hitting Ethan's side. He stumbled, fell to one knee. Rin gasped, pressing her hands against the bars. "Get up, please get up." The crowd shifted nervously. Humans didn't usually fight captains. Humans didn't survive them either. Ver walked in circles around Ethan like a predator. "You accuse me of treason," he said. "You accuse me of working with raiders. Why would I betray my own colony?" Ethan breathed heavily. "Because water equals power. And you love power more than your people." Ver's eyes darkened. Ethan wasn't wrong. And that made him dangerous. With a furious roar, Ver thrust forward with full force. But Ethan was ready. He activated his gauntlet's hidden boost. A surge of kinetic force burst from his arm as he blocked the spear. The impact shook the arena, throwing sand into the air. The crowd gasped. Even Ver stumbled backward. Ethan stood up slowly. Pain in his ribs, blood on his cheek, but fire in his eyes. "You're not unbeatable," he said. Ver snarled and attacked. Again rapid strikes, brutal swings, each one meant to kill. Ethan dodged, blocked, twisted, barely surviving by inches. But Ethan wasn't trying to win by strength. He was waiting, watching, timing. When Ver lifted his spear overhead for a killing blow, sunlight glinted off a metallic device hidden under the captain's shoulder plate. Ethan's eyes widened. That device. It wasn't standard armor. It was a remote signal transmitter, the kind raiders used to open gates and disable defenses. The crowd cheered for Ver, unaware of what they were seeing. But Rin, she saw Ethan's eyes narrow. She felt the shift. In the air. Ethan ducked under the spear, rolled forward, grabbed Ver's collar, and ripped the hidden device from his armor. The crowd froze. "What is that?" someone shouted. Ethan raised it high. "This," he yelled, breathing hard, "is the device Captain Ver used to open the colony gates for the raiders." The arena erupted in chaos, shouts, confused voices rising like a storm. Ver's face twisted. With rage, "You fool!" He charged wildly, swinging his spear with murderous force. Ethan tried to dodge, but he was too slow, too hurt. The spear slashed across his chest. Rin screamed. "Ethan!" He fell backward, blood staining the sand. The crowd went silent. HR stood over him, breathing heavily. Spear raised for the final strike. "You should have stayed out of alien affairs," he hissed. Ethan, barely conscious, lifted the device weakly. "You can't hide anymore." They saw everything. Rin's heart shattered as the spear came down. She slammed herself against the cage bars. "Stop, please!" The council elder suddenly shouted, "Enough!" A blast of sound echoed through the arena, a command that stopped Ver's hand inches. From Ethan's face, the elder's voice trembled. "The device must be analyzed. Until then, the duel is halted." Ver stepped back, trembling with rage. Ethan collapsed on the sand, breathing shallow, vision fading. Rin cried out, tears pouring down her face. "Ethan! Ethan, please don't die." Two guards rushed in to lift him, but Rin broke free from the cage ropes and ran to him. Falling to her knees beside his body, she grabbed his hand tightly. "You said you wouldn't leave me. You promised." Ethan's eyes opened weakly. "I'm still here." Rin sobbed against his chest. The truth was finally out. The colony was shaken. Ver was exposed, but Ethan was dying. And the final consequence of the duel was still undecided. The arena was silent, not because the fight was over, but because the truth had finally shattered the colony's blind obedience. Ethan lay on the sand, his breathing weak, his chest bleeding from Captain Var's strike. Dust floated through the air like slow snow. The rising sun painted everything in a pale golden glow. And beside him, Rin knelt, her small hands shaking as she tried to stop the bleeding with her torn sleeves. "Stay with me. Please stay with me," she whispered. Ethan opened his eyes just enough to see her face. He managed a weak smile. "I told you I'd come back." Rin's tears fell faster. No, don't talk like that. You're hurt. You're really hurt." Two guards tried to pull her away. "It is forbidden for the accused to—" But the council elder raised his hand sharply. "Let her stay." Everyone turned to the elders, waiting for judgment. All eyes then shifted to Captain Vare. He stood still, chest rising with anger, face red with humiliation. He knew the council saw the device Ethan had ripped from his armor. He knew the crowd had seen it too. His lies were collapsing. The elder held up the device. "This transmitter contains the Raiders' frequency signatures. Enough proof that Captain Vare has been cooperating with them." Gasps spread through the arena. Vare's face darkened. "You think a human's word outweighs that of a captain?" The elder's voice was cold. Not just his word, his bravery, his evidence, his wounds. For a moment, Var looked like a cornered animal. His fingers tightened around his spear, and then he lunged straight at the elder. But before the spear could strike, 5 guards tackled Var at once, slamming him to the ground. His armor clattered, his mask cracked, and his betrayal was finally visible to everyone. Rin flinched but didn't leave Ethan's side. Not even for a second. As the guards dragged Var away, he shouted wildly, "She's dangerous. That girl is cursed. Her genetics, her bloodline, you don't know what she is." Rin froze. The crowd murmured in confusion. The elder raised an eyebrow sharply. "What meaning does this have?" Var spat angrily. "That girl carries ancient markers, rare traits from the first settlers. Her genetics can resist heat, dehydration, sickness. She is valuable. That is why I needed her blamed. That is why the Raiders wanted her." Rin's heart stopped. Her body went numb. All her life, she thought she was worthless, a burden, a stray. But Captain Vare had been targeting her for a reason. The elder lifted his hand. "Enough. Take him away." Vare screamed until his voice disappeared behind metal doors. Silence returned to the arena. Ethan's voice broke that silence. "Rin." She leaned over him instantly. "Yes, I'm here. I'm right here." "You're not a burden," he whispered. "You're special." Rin's tears fell onto his hand. "I don't care if I have rare blood. I just want you to survive." Ethan's eyes softened. "I survived because you gave me a reason to fight." The council descended from their platform. The elder knelt beside Rin and Ethan. "We owe you both an apology," he said. "Child, you have been wronged. And human Ethan, you have revealed the truth to save us all." The elder stood and raised his voice for the entire colony. "From this day, the old punishment law is abolished." The crowd erupted in whispers. "And the girl Rin is declared innocent." Rin's breath hitched. She covered her mouth with both hands. The elder continued. "Furthermore, she will be given a guardian, someone who has proven himself more loyal than any captain." He turned to Ethan. "If he accepts." Ethan tried to sit up but failed. Rin quickly supported him. Ethan looked at her, then at the elder. "I accept. I won't let her be alone again." Rin's heart finally loosened, like something heavy lifted from her chest after years of pain. The elder added softly, "Then she is under your protection, and your home is now hers too." Rin stared at Ethan with disbelief and hope mixing in her eyes. "Do you really want me with you?" Ethan brushed a strand of dusty hair from her cheek. "I didn't fight for you to leave you behind." She burst into tears, not of fear, but relief. Ethan winced as he tried to stand. Rin helped him, placing his arm around her small shoulders. "You're hurt," she whispered. "You always protect me. Now I will protect you." Ethan smiled weakly. "I'd like that." The crowd watched in silence as the human and the alien girl walked out of the arena together, not as criminal and savior, but as a family formed through fire, truth, and sacrifice. Outside the arena, the sun rose higher, warming the world. Rin looked up at Ethan. "Thank you for seeing me as a person when no one else did." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "You always were." I just reminded them. Together, they stepped into the light of a new beginning, where Rin finally had a home, and Ethan finally had someone worth fighting for, the girl who deserved to live. Lived.